Welcome to version 2. Thank you for joining me in another video. Now, you've probably heard by now, we have just had a version 2 update for the Roland Aerophone Pro. I thought you'd appreciate a little bit of a deeper dive. Let's get into it. There are 3 main headings here. Number 1, new sounds, some of them controlled by motion sensor. Number 2, there are new fingerings. And number 3, Roland Cloud support. Okay, so there's too much here to cover in one video, but I wanted to give you just a little bit more in-depth knowledge. So the first thing is we have a motion controller built right in to the Aerophone Pro. I had absolutely no idea that this even existed. So what does that mean? Well, now we have yet another continuous controller at our disposal. So we can activate the motion controller in 2 ways, either by lifting and lowering the Pro, or we can sway it from side to side. And of course, just like the bike control or the breath control, it's up to us what parameters that movement will control. So there are 2 different parameters that we can send simultaneously to internal sounds, and there are 2 simultaneous parameters that we can send to external sounds over MIDI. Okay, and that can be anything we like, just like the breath controller. So you might want to send a CC control, you might want to add a harmony as you raise and lower the sound, you might want to introduce another layer of sound as you raise and lower the instrument. You can also control how much difference there is when you raise and lower the instruments. So there are those control curves just like we have on the breath and the bike controller as well. So I've set my own settings for that because I was finding sometimes the default settings may be just a little bit too sensitive. So I've lowered those down a little bit to suit me. And you can see from some of the sound demos, there are lots of ways of using this. And in this one demo that I did, I've actually programmed my looper in main stage to be controlled by raising and lowering the instrument. So when I want to record, I just raise the instrument, and when I want to just jam over the top, I lower the instrument back down. And that was simply a case of going into main stage, putting it into that setting where it listens out for the CC control. So I've set it on the main stage, lift and lower the instrument. Main stage knows to listen out for that control. And that's it. I'm away with my hands-free or even feet-free looper. Great fun. So I think there are about 25 new sounds with version 2 software. There are probably, 10 or 12, something like that, that utilize the motion control. There are some brand new supernatural sounds, most of those ethnic sounds, but some of them have things like timpani roll built in now that you can control with the motion sensor. And there have also been improvements to some of the supernatural sounds that were already on board. Number 2, we have new fingerings available. Now, people have asked me about this on the channel before. What about the clarinet players? And it's been a shame. I've had to sort of say, no, I don't think this is going to suit you too much. But now there's fingerings for clarinet and flute. Now, I'm not a flute player, but I do play the clarinet a little bit. So I was able to give the clarinet fingering a pretty good try out. And I have to say, I think it works pretty well. As some of you may know, the big changes there in the clarinet fingering is that the clarinet does not overblow by an octave. When you put the register key on the back, on the clarinet, it goes up by 12 notes. That's quite a big change to make from saxophone fingering. And also we've got these kind of throat notes on the clarinet, which are quite different to the saxophone. So I always imagined that it probably was not going to be possible. Anyway, I can tell you it's been pretty well developed on this new version 2 software. I was able to put it into clarinet fingering and try some of those clarinet pieces that I'm used to on the clarinet, and it fits very well first go. There are some minor little differences, of course, but overall it's working really well. And I think clarinet players will be pretty impressed how quickly they can get on with the Aerophone Pro. And thirdly, Roland Cloud support. Okay, this is another massive step forward. We've been able to share our sounds between Roland Aerophone Pro users recently, but now we've got really complete integration with the whole ZenCore setup. Okay, what's ZenCore? ZenCore is a shared internal body of sounds which are included in some Roland keyboard products. Things like the Phantom keyboard, the Jupiter X keyboard. It's also part of the Zenology plugin that's available on computers. And the Roland Aerophone Pro is also part of that family. So now if you've got a Phantom keyboard or your friend or the guy in the band has got a Phantom keyboard, if he wants you to play the exact sound, you take this sound, okay, USB stick from the Phantom straight into the Aerophone Pro, you're playing that same sound. You might have to make some small tweaks to set it up exactly how you want it to respond to breath control. That's what I've found that I've been doing. Very quick to just go into the app and tweak a few little settings there. But the sound, the basic sound transferring between instruments is working really well. And the other big thing here is that with Zenology on the computer, we have now got a complete graphical interface. So if we want to select our waveform, if we want to draw our envelopes in, we've got it there in a really clear, easy to understand graphical interface. We can try out the sounds when we're ready. We can then transfer them into the Aerophone Pro. So in addition to being able to share sounds easily, there's going to be a huge amount more possibilities in sharing sounds with different instruments, keyboards, Zenology Pro. And there are going to be some sound packs available. Now, if you subscribe to the Roland Cloud, you'll be able to see on there's a huge number of sort of vintage Roland synths, which you can also control with the Aerophone Pro. Again, you might need to do some tweaking with those. But there are going to be some specific sound packs for the Aerophone Pro. Now, Roland Cloud is a subscription service, and I think there are different levels of subscription. I do know that there's usually a free 1-month trial available, So if you want to go ahead and try that out, try out that graphical interface on Zenology Pro. That will be very useful for you to get a hang and see if you think that's going to be something that's useful to you. So overall, this is a huge extension to our library with that Roland Cloud integration. So 3 huge step-ups. The motion controller. What a surprise. And there are already new sounds that are going to use that motion controller. Secondly, the new fingerings. Clarinet and flute players, you should probably have a go at the Aerophone Pro. As far as I know, there aren't many wind synthesizers that really give you a good option there for clarinet and flute fingering. And then Roland Cloud integration. Again, another huge step forward. As usual, this is a free update from the support pages of the Aerophone Pro at roland.com. I'll leave a link in the description. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. You know, there's less than 10% of my viewers that actually subscribe. Please, it really makes a massive difference to me. If you could just click that subscribe button, you'll make me a very happy man. See you in the next one.